Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I want to talk to you about how the global pandemic affected our personal lives and our shopping habits indefinitely. These kind of moments of reflection are really important. You know, there was so much reflection that was done during that thing we all went through and just after, but 3 years on, kind of having a chance to sit down and see how your own life has changed, how your own habits have changed and how you as a person have changed, your spending habits, your personal life. I find it really interesting, and today I'm going to be referencing a few articles. There's one particular one by Forbes that I will have linked down below if you're interested in having a good read that does touch more on the shopping habits, but that will be more in the second half of the video. But as you can see, I will have chapters down here if you want to jump around in today's video, feel free to do so. I will be sharing my own personal experience and how I feel I changed, but also touching on more from a global standpoint, how we've changed as human beings. And whether or not you consider yourself a reflective person, I bet you have done so much reflecting since that time we all went through. And I do think if you haven't really thought about it too much since maybe 2 years ago, I definitely think it's worth having a real good think about maybe how you've changed, because I do think that even now you've probably changed immensely since that time. And I'd love for you to share with me in the comments down below how you feel your life has changed, how you feel you as a person has changed. I'd really be interested to hear that from you in the comments down below, so feel free to share. So the first thing I want to talk about is introversion and what we tolerate in terms of space. Now, please, I'm so interested to hear in the comments down below kind of how you feel about this and if you feel like this has changed for you, because this is something I noticed about myself and I don't think it was this bad before 2019. And I noticed this in myself. In the last 2 weeks, I went to go see Oppenheimer and I went to go see the Barbie movie. And I just realized how less tolerant I have become of people in my space. Like I've always been really introverted, but I feel like the pandemic and that time we all went through has actually made it stronger. My boyfriend had absolutely no problem with this when we went to go see Oppenheimer, but I'm just like, no, this is not okay. For the 3-hour Oppenheimer movie and for the 2-hour Barbie movie, I couldn't believe my luck. I had somebody sit next to me in the movie theater. I know, right? The shock horror, world's smallest violin. But I was like, what the are you doing? Why do you want to be this close to me? Why must we sit this close to each other? Now, please show me in the comments down below. You're either going to be one of two people, okay? My boyfriend was like, what's the big deal? Or you're going to be like me and you're going to be like, why the do we need to sit next to each other? And it wasn't like the movie was like, it's not like the movie theater was packed. You know, it's the type of movie theater where you can choose your own seats. And I looked around this theater and I'm like, there are so many empty seats here. There are so many empty seats. Even in the row that we were in, there was so many empty seats. For Barbie, my friend was like, what the hell? She couldn't believe my luck. And we actually moved down one because I didn't want to sit next to someone like that close for 2.5, 3 hours. I like to put my arms out. I like to spread my legs out. I like to cross my legs. And I don't like to feel like I'm this close to somebody. I feel like it's gotten worse. I feel like it's gotten worse since having so much space. And the whole keep your distance, 1.5 meters, being in a movie theater, sitting next to someone, I was like, what are you doing? What do you want to be my friend? What are we doing so close to each other? There's really no need for us to be this close to each other. And I think that level of tolerance for me personally has definitely lessened. Like, I don't think I was as bothered by that before the pandemic. I think maybe if that happened, I'd be like, that's a bit weird. Like, why does this person want to sit next to me? But it wouldn't have been as jaw-dropping to me. I wouldn't have felt the need to get up and move seats. But I just was like, why do we need to be in each other's personal space? It was just so weird. Please let me know in the comments down below how you feel about that. Are you someone that's really kind of weirded out by people that feel the need to sit so closely to each other in movie theaters? Because my friend was like, yeah, no, I'm not wanting to sit next to a stranger for 3 hours. My boyfriend was like, I don't really care. I'd love to hear if you think your tolerance for people and closeness has changed in any way. I still enjoy going to concerts from time to time, but being in large groups of people, I have a smaller and a lesser tolerance for it than I used to. So number 2, I'm going to try to kind of tiptoe around a little bit because I don't want this video to get demonetized, but I do think that there is a bit of a general distrust in systems and government more so than ever before. This is something that I feel like I notice on a personal level, and I've spoken to it with my family and my friends and people in my close circles, and I'd love for you to share with me your thoughts on it if you feel comfortable. But I do definitely think that people are kind of less trusting in systems and in government. I did see some, I think it was some research done by UCLA. I'll see if I can find the articles linked, but I was really curious to see if this was just a personal thing or if other people are experiencing this as well. And some of the things that I read the data showed that people and the percentage of people that were choosing to get flu vaccinations had dropped, and they kind of thought that maybe it was a spillover effect of other that we were and some people were forced to get, and some people just got, you know, out voluntarily. Anyway, I'm not trying to start any arguments in the comments, but I do think this was really interesting. I do think this is something that I was a little bit intrigued by. You know, if this is my first year as someone who didn't go ahead and get the flu. I'm trying to be so careful about how I word this. Yeah, I just thought that was really interesting. Anyway, now let's move on to something a little bit more fun that I could actually talk about. But I do think we have seen more of a rise and a popularity in outdoor activities and outdoor trades, and just things that involve using our hands and kind of getting more out of the house and being more in nature and off of technology more. I mean, obviously social media is still very much thriving, but I do think we've seen such a bigger rise in things like pottery. Pottery is so big right now. Gardening is huge. Gardening is really something that millennials have taken on. People in their 20s have, you know, started growing their own vegetables and growing their own fruits and growing their own flowers and just spending more time out in nature and just incorporating more things into their lives and more trades in their lives that involve their hands and things that they can do outdoors. That's something that before the whole 2019-2021 thing that we went through, I don't think gardening was as popular as it is now. I don't think pottery was as popular as it is now. I don't think making our own things and doing our own things and these trades and these things that allow humans to be a little bit more self-sufficient were as popular. And I do think that is kind of a trickle-on effect of how much time we all spent indoors and how much time we all felt a little bit helpless. You know, as someone back in 2018, I had no desire to garden. I had no desire to grow my own things. And now it's like really all I can think about. I'm like already planning my spring and summer garden. I'm so excited. This is something that I never cared about before. And I do think a lot of that is a trickle-on effect of just being stuck indoors and not feeling like we have control of our own lives and what we choose to do outdoors. I also think, following on from the second point I made, I do think we have seen such a bigger rise in health and how we view health, and I think a lot of people are becoming more health conscious and conscious of what they choose to put in their body. I used to be someone who was such a germaphobe. Like, even before hand sanitizer was the thing, I was like the crazy hand sanitizer lady. I'm not as crazy hand sanitizer lady as I used to be. I now recognize that some germs are good for my body, my immune system, my gut microbiome. I still use hand sanitizer from time to time, but I'm not like bathing myself in it. And I think there is quite a big rise in people becoming more health conscious and their idea of health changing and the way they view health changing. You know, just from a personal note, I went ahead and, you know, changed all my soaps to be more natural. My laundry detergent, I now use fragrance-free, more natural laundry detergent. I'm more aware of what I put into my body. You know, I don't even fake tan as much anymore. I hardly fake tan because I'm just more aware of my skin is my biggest organ, what I'm choosing to put in my body, you know, organic, pesticides, things like that. I'm a lot more aware of how I choose to live my life on a day-to-day basis and what it means for my health long term. I think this desire to live more of a cleaner, natural life has grown in popularity, and it's piqued a lot more people's interest. People are a lot more aware and a lot more cautious and conscious of what they're choosing to put in their body and what they're choosing to put on their skin. Sometimes I do wonder if this whole craze of living more cleaner and non-toxic would have grown in popularity as much if it wasn't for the pandemic. The next one is something that I'm going to see if I can find some data while editing this video, but if I can't, I'm just gonna have to go from my own personal experience. But I do think we have seen such a rise in people who work from home. I've managed to find data from 2020 to 2021, but more recent data as of 2023 I couldn't really find online, but I'll have another look and see if I can find anything and put it on screen. But I do think there is so much more of a rise of people choosing to work from home and having more flexibility in their work schedule. I think we've seen a rise of people wanting to stay working from home, or at least spending less time in the office and having a bit more of a split schedule. I think working from home, especially for working mums or just introverts, offers a lot more flexibility. So I do think that we have seen kind of a lot of women and a lot of just workers in general choose to stick to working from home or seeing if they can negotiate more of that flexible working schedule where they're not spending as much time in the office. You know, we're at a point now where we can freely move around and choose to, if we so wish, work in an office. But I do think there are a percentage of people who are choosing to and opting to work from home still, because it's just offers a lot more flexibility, it's a lot more comfortable, and it saves a bit of time. I do think there are still people who obviously enjoy going to the office and enjoy getting away and having that outlet. But I also think that there is a good percentage of people though who are still choosing remote work and who are more interested in jobs that offer them the flexibility to work from home. Okay, so this one I think makes me a little bit sad, and maybe in America this was something you experienced, you know, years and years ago. Let me know in the comments down below if this is something that in Australia really only came up during the pandemic and after, and I kind of hoped that it would return to what it used to be, but I guess this is the way of the world now. I see so many more restaurants that offer QR codes, and so many of the supermarkets that I shop at now have majority self-service checkouts. I do think it really does contribute to this whole lonely epidemic that we are experiencing now. What I realized is now I can shop, I can go to the grocery store and I can do all my shopping and I can check out myself and I can do all that. I can go to restaurants and I can scan a QR code. I don't need to go up to the counter and order. And I realized that I can basically go about my whole day not speaking to or not interacting with anyone. And I do think that definitely contributes to the loneliness epidemic. We need human connection. We need human interaction. And I kind of hope that would go back to the way it used to be. And, you know, I think of all the jobs that are lost. I like to have a conversation with the checkout worker. I like to ask them how they're going. I like to talk about how their day is. I like to ask them, you know, what time they finish, or then they tell me about their school and like how they're in year 12 and they're almost finished and this and that. I like having those conversations with people at the checkout. Look, I'm that woman, okay? I like to have conversations with the people at the checkout. It's very rare that I get to interact with young people these days. A lot of that now has just been replaced by machines and QR codes. And for people who live alone, for people who are already experiencing depression or anxiety or just struggling with loneliness, the world that we're living in is growing increasingly lonelier, and it does strengthen the parasocial relationships online. And I think it does contribute to a lot of influencers' success, because a lot of people, I mean, I've even experienced moments like this before. I've isolated myself so much, and, you know, I go to the supermarket, I don't speak to anyone, I just self-serve checkout, and I feel like we're kind of losing that human connection and that element of connection. If you think there's anything I missed out from more of a personal aspect, I'd really love for you to share it in the comments down below. And now I want to touch more on spending habits, shopping habits. I think the first thing that I want to touch on is the luxury resale market, because that's something that, you know, I come from a headspace and a world, I suppose you could say, where I was shopping a lot. I was spending a lot of money. I used to be obsessed with buying bags. I used to be obsessed with designer items. I'm so glad and I'm so grateful that I'm no longer in that headspace. But I think from a luxury resale point of view, and again, I'm not the expert, so if you have a different opinion, please share with me that in the comments down below. But I do think that we have seen an explosion on the luxury resale market of items, of products, of bags, of shoes, of just an explosion of designer brands. Unfortunately, a lot of fakes as well, but an explosion of designer items. And I do think that a lot of that has to do with the time that a lot of us spent sitting at home and having nothing else to do, nothing else, you know, holidays we maybe had booked that got cancelled, money that we had sitting in the bank that we felt like we couldn't go on that particular holiday. Some of us with reckless spending tendencies, instead of keeping that money and saving it, maybe we spent it. Maybe we spent it on designer items, maybe we got ourselves into debt, maybe we bought and bought and bought and bought and bought, waiting for a day that we would use these things or could use these things, just giving us a little bit of joy. And now that we're back out and living our lives, we've just accumulated so much stuff, so much designer bags, so many shoes, so many designer items that we don't even need. So I think we've seen such an explosion on the resale market. But on the other hand, I think we've seen almost a stagnation in stock moving. I don't know about you, let me know in the comments down below. I find it has actually been so much harder to move on my stock and sell things. I feel like it's harder to move things on because people aren't really wanting to spend as much money on designer items as they used to. I mean, again, I'm generalizing, but I feel like a lot of people are in this kind of boat where they're like, look, I spent so much in the pandemic. I bought so much things that I didn't need, so many unnecessary purchases. I'm trying to sell them, but nobody wants to buy my things because either they don't have the money, they don't want to put their money there, or the prices are ridiculous, or they themselves found themselves overspending and over purchasing, and just stock I feel like is kind of not moving and it's kind of stagnating. You know, even when I look at a lot of Instagram resellers, a lot of the stock I feel like doesn't move as quickly as it used to back in maybe like 2018, like early 2019. But again, if you have a different opinion, if you're more of an expert, if you're more following this type of thing, please share with me your thoughts, because it's not really a world I'm in anymore. It's not really something I follow as closely as I used to. So please share with me your experience on that in the comments down below. I do think Instagram resellers, I think from my own personal experience trying to sell things, they're not as willing to take product on as they used to be. They're not as willing to purchase things from you, because I don't think stock's moving as quickly as it used to. And I think just the explosion on the resale market and the stagnation of stock, I think a lot of it has to do with, again, like how much everyone bought and a lot of people bought. I think also obviously price increases, a desire to almost spend your money in a different way than a lot of people used to. I think price increases, cost of living. I think the pandemic as well has a lot to do with, I think, what I've seen a bit lately. And again, maybe it's just because I'm living in a bit of my own little bubble, but of course I recognize that there are still so many luxury channels and so many luxury YouTubers doing amazingly and doing so well, and still like shopping and not really slowing their consumption, not really slowing down their purchases in any way, and they're still doing really well. So it's funny, I feel like I'm in a bit of a bubble, and this is obviously a very biased opinion, but I do feel like I am seeing a lot of people shift away from their old shopping habits. A lot of people kind of move more into intentional shopping, or just kind of give less of a crap about shopping and designer items in general. Something that I obviously went through over the past few years. I've grown less and less of a desire to buy logos and buy expensive things that are thousands and thousands of dollars that I realized then that I only wear for a year or two and then I try to get rid of. And it's just this vicious cycle. You know, some people that I've seen recently talk about this, Lydia Elise Millen, she's someone who obviously shops a lot, has a very lavish lifestyle. She obviously still does a lot of shopping and buying, but she did touch on something that I thought was very interesting, and I think the pandemic had a lot to do with her mindset shift. She said something like, you know, Birkins are wonderful, Birkins are great, but it's like icing on a cake. You know, it doesn't actually make you happy. It doesn't actually bring you long-lasting happiness. She's definitely, I think, moved away from a little bit more of maybe a materialistic mindset that she used to hold. Obviously she still shops, she still loves pretty things and spending money in that way, but I definitely think it's more intentional than it used to be. I've seen a lot of videos pop up on my YouTube recommended of people saying that they're no longer buying bags, they're no longer giving into their impulse shopping. You know, the prices are getting out of control. They just have less of a desire to shop. They have less of a desire to want to spend their money in that way. And I do wonder if the global pandemic and the trickle-on effect has a lot to do with how a lot of people's views have changed. To be honest, I don't really give a hell of a lot of crap about shopping anymore. Like, there's still a few things that I want here and there. I'm like, oh yeah, that'd be cool. But I'm not like obsessed with it. I'm not like chasing the next thing. I'm not chasing anything really. I just don't give a crap. Like, I just don't. And a lot of what I see now online, and I look sometimes from time to time, I look on new arrivals and I don't find anything that I feel like I really need, especially for the prices that they are. And I feel like I'm more in a place now of filling gaps in my wardrobe as opposed to just buying just because I love it. And I definitely think that a lot of people are in that boat right now. And I do think that has a lot to do with the pandemic and what we went through and kind of the realizations we've had and the awakenings that we've had. There's no real data to show that. It's just kind of my own personal opinion, but I'd love to hear yours in the comments down below. So apparently the shift to e-commerce accelerated by 5 years according to data that came out by IBM. I rarely buy things in store anymore, and I'm almost thinking that I should make more of an effort to, because I should make more of an effort to support brick and mortar traditional stores. But to me, online shopping is just so much better. It's so much more convenient. Like, I don't have to trudge around the shop, you know, in stuffy rooms, like blasted with air conditioner or bright lights and lots of people. I can spend my days outside soaking up the sun. Say if I do need to go shopping, I can literally do it from my laptop, sitting out in the sun, being out in nature. I don't enjoy spending time in malls anymore. I used to love malls. There used to be such a culture around being in the mall, being at the mall. I couldn't think of anything worse. Like, back in probably 2018, my idea of a dream day in Melbourne would be to spend my whole weekend in Chadstone. I can't do that anymore. Last time I went to Chadstone, I was literally there for like an hour and I was getting anxiety. I was like, I need to go outside. I'm not as into malls as I used to be. E-commerce, online shopping is just so much more convenient. it's just so much easier. And I don't see that ever changing. I see that only forever increasing. You know, the amount of people that now buy their groceries online, huge acceleration towards e-commerce. It's actually been more beneficial for influencers. A huge aspect of influencers' job is to sell. The links that they share, especially influencers who have Amazon storefronts and who work with Amazon, they are making bank. They are making big bucks. Okay, do not underestimate these shopping channels and these women that share and share their product recommendations, especially on Amazon. It's not to be underestimated. Okay, these people are making bank. Just to throw some numbers at you, worldwide e-commerce sales increased to an estimated $4.9 trillion in 2021. And experts predict that sales will top $7 trillion by 2025. The pandemic, in a way, has probably accelerated so many influencers' business and so many influencers' income to just probably figures that they could only ever imagine. I think back in 2018 and before, you know, having affiliate links and affiliate marketing, yes, they were big business. It was a way to make money, but I definitely think that with the rise of e-commerce and with the more convenience of shopping online, you know, the curbside pickup, the easy one-touch payment options, it's so much easier to just click and pay. And that is big business for influencers. Influencers who share Amazon recommendations, Amazon storefronts, and just other general recommendations, whether it be from fashion, beauty, household, they are making bank. And you can make a lot of money. Do not underestimate how much money you can actually make from these affiliate links and from affiliate marketing. And it's a big business for influencers. So it's definitely accelerated the influencer landscape. It's accelerated influencing in general, and I don't see any signs of it slowing down, and I don't see any signs of it stopping. I would love to hear in the comments down below how you feel like the pandemic altered your shopping behaviors and your shopping tendencies indefinitely, because it's so strange to me. Because the first few points I touched on, you know, my desire to shop less and my desire to spend less and be more intentional with my shopping. But we've also seen, you know, the numbers don't lie. We've seen such an increase in online shopping. We've seen such an increase in e-commerce. So I feel like maybe there's certain things that I'm a little bit more frivolous with. I mean, maybe I am a little bit more frivolous with more smaller purchases and things that cost less. But even then, I wouldn't say my shopping habits have increased. If anything, I'd say they decreased. But yeah, the numbers don't lie. So I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below, kind of how you feel. Do you feel like your shopping's increased? Do you feel like your luxury shopping, if you were a luxury shopper, has it increased, has it decreased? Has your more basic, everyday, more affordable purchasing increased or decreased? I'd love to hear your thoughts for you personally, how it's affected you indefinitely and your shopping behaviors and just your life in general. Please share with me that in the comments down below. I'm gonna have another one linked for you right here. If you haven't had enough of me just yet, feel free to join me over there. Thank you so much for joining me in today's video, and I will see you in my next one.